The NBA is full of greats, greatest stats, greatest games, hell, even greatest shoe collection. The NBA has no shortage of ways to be remembered. All you gotta do is show out and play hard. But what if you don't have the best stats? Or the most iconic games? What if you didn't even win a championship? Can greatness still be yours? Ask any longtime NBA fan and they'll tell you the answer is yes. Greatness is so much more than just numbers on a stat page or rings on your fingers. Style, class, and dedication to the game are ultimately what'll get your name hung up in arena rafters long after you've retired. No player represents this better than New York's Patrick Ewing. Despite not playing in the Big Apple for over 20 years, you'll see more Ewing jerseys now than ever before. He helped New York produce some of their best basketball to date and brought his team as close as you can get to an NBA title. But stiff competition, injuries, and plain old bad luck all contributed to Ewing retiring from the league as one of the greatest players to have never won a ring. So, from playing in the streets of Kingston to the mecca of basketball at Madison Square Garden, this is the life of Patrick Ewing. Patrick Aloysius Ewing was born on the 5th of August, 1962, the day before Jamaica gained its independence from the United Kingdom after over 300 years of colonization. But as a kid, the future NBA star didn't even play basketball. He preferred English sports, like soccer and cricket, both of which he excelled at impressing his coaches and teachers. In 1975, when Ewing was 11, his family moved to Cambridge, Massachusetts, where the young Jamaican got his first taste for the sport that would later make him famous. Despite a late start, Ewing quickly developed into a highly talented player. His size made him a natural in the paint, and by his senior year, he was one of the most hotly recruited high school players in the country. He committed to Georgetown and helped the Hoyas become an NCAA powerhouse almost overnight. As a freshman, Ewing became one of the first players ever to start for the varsity team, and for good reason. The 7-foot center was unstoppable. Big Pat led the Hoyas to the #1 seed in the NCAA tournament that season, winning them their second Big East title in the program's history as a rookie starter. When Georgetown made it to the Final Four for the first time since 1943, Ewing put on a show, beating the University of Kentucky and leading his college to an NCAA Finals appearance. There, they had to face off against the University of North Carolina, a powerhouse team filled with talent and star power. Ewing set the tone, putting up a physical display and dominating in the paint with his size and shot blocking. But a late bucket from a future NBA superstar put North Carolina ahead, and the Hoyas couldn't bring it back. North Carolina took home the title that season, and Ewing congratulated the young shooting guard for his performance. That shooting guard, a young man by the name of Michael Jordan, extended similar praise to the Georgetown big man. Ewing probably didn't know it yet, but that youngster from North Carolina was going to get in the way of more titles than just an NCAA trophy. Ewing took the Hoyas to 3 more NCAA tournaments and made the Final Four 2 more times throughout his collegiate career. The 83-84 season saw him win Georgetown's first and only NCAA championship, with Ewing being named as the tournament's most outstanding player in the process. By the end of his 4 years, he'd had one of the most successful college careers in basketball history. On top of all the team success, Ewing won a Naismith Trophy, was selected as a first-team All-American 3 times, and was a 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year winner. After he declared for the 1985 draft, there were no questions as to who was going #1. Pat O'Brien, a broadcaster for CBS in the 80s, said this of the newcomer just days before the draft took place: "We've had the Mikan era, the Russell era, the Kareem era. Now we'll have the Ewing era." The New York Knicks drafted Patrick Ewing with the first pick of the draft, and the rest, as they say, is history. Despite a first season that was plagued by injuries, Ewing still won Rookie of the Year, averaging 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. Before he'd even spent his signing bonus, Ewing was considered one of the premier centers in the league. It was a slow start for New York, though, as they struggled to improve in those first few seasons. But by 1988, they began to seriously challenge for the title. In their first playoff appearance since signing the Jamaican center, Ewing and the Knicks faced the Chicago Bulls, led by a familiar face: Michael Jordan. Fresh off winning his first scoring title the season before, sent New York home in a 4-2 series where both Ewing and Jordan impressed. Michael Jordan would personally be responsible for knocking Ewing and the Knicks out of the playoffs a total of 5 more times in their careers, more times than any other team in the NBA. but that didn't stop Ewing from balling out when the two did face off. One of his greatest ever performances was during the 92-93 Eastern Conference semifinals, where Big Pat put on a show in Game 1, finishing with 34 points, 16 rebounds, and 6 blocks in a New York victory. Chicago brought it back though, and going into Game 6, the Knicks faced another elimination at the hands of MJ and the Bulls. Despite an ankle injury, Ewing dropped 27 points and forced a Game 7. However, New York fell short, and Chicago completed their first three-peat of the decade. But for his performance, Ewing had propelled himself to legendary status in the Big Apple. He was playing some of the best basketball of his career, and as luck would have it, the 93-94 season promised to be very different from the last. With Jordan outplaying baseball, the championship trophy was open for the taking. He was the main contributor to their 1994 NBA Finals run, helping New York make their first finals game since 1973. But it was a grueling journey there, going to Game 7 against the Bulls in the conference semis and then to another Game 7 against the Pacers for the conference title. To win it all, New York would have to beat Hakeem Olajuwon and the Houston Rockets. It would be a battle against the two arguably best centers in the NBA in that season. The two battled it out in the paint, and New York was once again taken to 7 games in a tough back and forth. Ewing made the most of it though, setting a league record for most blocks in a final series with 30, and most block shots in a single game with 8. But it wasn't enough. Houston took games 6 and 7, winning their first NBA title in franchise history. Ewing, once again, went home empty-handed. By now, his decade in the league was starting to take a toll on his body. Ewing, who had only missed 20 games in his first 10 seasons, missed the remaining 56 games of the 97 season due to a severe wrist injury caused by a scary fall after a mid-air collision in Milwaukee. Even after his return, the jump shot of one of the greatest shooting big men ever to play the game was never the same. The next season, he battled through an Achilles tendon injury in the NBA's lockout-shortened season. Despite this, though, he put on a world-class display and helped the 8th-seeded Knicks make an astonishing playoff run, all the way to their second NBA Finals appearance of his career. But again, injuries kept Ewing on the sidelines, and the Knicks were left to face off against two of the greatest players of all time without their big man. With a sophomore Tim Duncan and veteran big man David Robinson anchoring their team, San Antonio beat New York 4-1, winning their first championship in franchise history. In his final season in New York, Big Pat tried one more time to win the ring he'd been chasing since 1985. He played his 1,000th NBA game in the 99-2000 season and set a franchise record playing 1,039 games as a New York Knick. He is still the only Knicks player to play over 1,000 games for the franchise. The Knicks season came to an end when Ewing failed to make it past the Pacers in the conference finals. After 15 years of hooping in the Big Apple, Ewing requested a trade and was sent across the country to Seattle. After just 2 more years in the league, Ewing retired from competitive basketball and took a coaching job with Washington. The era of Patrick Ewing was over. In 17 seasons, Patrick Ewing averaged 21 points, 9.8 rebounds, and 2.4 blocks per game. He never fell below 50% shooting, and as of 2023, he ranks 24th overall in all-time points scored. He made 11 All-Star appearances, multiple All-NBA teams, both the 50th and 75th anniversary teams, and even got his jersey retired by the franchise that drafted him first all those years ago. Ewing won 2 gold medals with Team USA, and made the Hall of Fame twice, once for his individual career in 2008, and then again in 2010 for his role on the 1992 Dream Team. In a lot of ways, Ewing got unlucky. Despite New York's basketball pedigree, the team never really had another all-star who could help Ewing when things got hard. I mean, just take a look at the Knicks' 1994 finals run. The second best player on that team, John Starks, made just 2 of 18 shots in their Game 7 loss. And in both of New York's finals appearances, the only other good players in Knicks uniforms were names like Charles Oakley, Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston, and a way past his prime Larry Johnson. And even that's being nice. Ewing's best years were during a period of unmatched league dominance. Michael Jordan owned the 90s, and there's a strong argument to be made that no other player personally got in the way of Ewing's success more than the GOAT himself. There's a reason why you still see so many Ewing jerseys at Knicks games. Patrick Ewing is an icon of New York basketball. He represented the hard, tough, and physical style of basketball that we associate with the city that never sleeps and that the fans still clamor for to this very day. Ring or not, Patrick Ewing is an undisputed legend of the game, and it'll be a long time before New Yorkers forget what he did for them during his playing days.